Welcome to It's Later Than You Think, the podcast about living in the moment, enjoying the ride, and making the most out of our lives. I'm your host, Patrick Ailshire, a 40-something-year-old Wisconsinite, sharing my experiences and encouraging you to rethink time, purpose, and everything in between. Let's make the most of right now. What is up? Welcome to another episode of It's Later Than You Think. My name is Patrick. I am your host. We've got a special episode for you today. This is episode number 25. We have made it 25 straight weeks in a row with an episode. Very excited to have gotten to this point. When I initially came up with the idea for the podcast, I did want to do weekly. I wasn't sure how that would go, but I've been really excited to offer these episodes to you each and every week. There may be some of you that have jumped on the bandwagon of listening to these episodes, and I do appreciate you doing that. But some of you may be unfamiliar with the title of this podcast, and you're welcome to go back and listen to episode 1 while we explain it, but otherwise, I would love to read a little blurb about why this podcast came to be. So this is called It's Later Than You Think. Does life have to move so quickly? Are we enjoying what's in front of us, or are we focusing too much on the past? Are we unnecessarily concerned about the future? Join me, Patrick, a 40-something Midwesterner, as I talk about living in the moment, enjoying the ride, and making the most out of our limited days. Sharing stories from my own life experiences, I'll provide things to mull over on a wide variety of everyday topics that will allow you, the listener, to collect your thoughts and consider if you are living in the now. A programming note. Starting with this episode, number 25, as I stated previously, all future episodes will be part of the Fleeting Moments series, where I have a guest and we have a conversation, as we've been doing. I do not plan on recording any solo episodes for the foreseeable future, so each and every time you listen to It's Later Than You Think, we'll be featuring a guest, which I am looking forward to so much. The second update, It's Later Than You Think, will be changing from a weekly release podcast to a when I decide to release them. My plan will still be to release on Tuesdays. It's just that they may not be every week. With that said, I want to thank my guest that I had on this week, Josie from Hill Valley Dairy. This was a really fun interview to learn about a business I was not really familiar with here in Milwaukee. And I also have to thank Josie for her patience and kindness while we were navigating some technical difficulties throughout the interview. Fortunately, there's the editing process and everything turned out great, but there was a little bit of hesitation, I think, on both of our ends as we not only recorded the episode, but we're trying to get the audio kind of fixed up in the post-production. Here is my interview with Josie. My guest this week, I am really excited to have on, is Josie from Hill Valley Dairy right here in Milwaukee. Welcome, Josie.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm super excited.
All right, so Josie, I'd love to learn a little bit more about the business Hill Valley Dairy. Specifically, since before we recorded here tonight, I went ahead and did a little deep dive, and I was feeling a little guilty knowing that your Instagram page had been going on for years and that I had was not familiar with your place, or at least had not been to your place yet. Can you tell us a little bit about how your business got started and how you ended up in Walker's Point?
Yeah. So, first of all, there's a lot of people who feel the same way. So, I'm here to say no worries. It's kind of been a journey for us. So, we've only been in Walker's Point as Hill Valley Dairy full time since November. So, you haven't really missed out that much. But we'll back up and we'll start in 2012. My husband Ron is a young cheesemaker and was hired on to work at Clock Shadow Creamery, which is the location that we're currently at. It's 138 West Bruce Street in Walker's Point. The building was built, and the building is actually called Clock Shadow. That's also doesn't help with all the confusion. But the building was built as a green efficient building in Walker's Point area to try and sort of help revitalize this side of the city. And we were asked to we'd been making cheese for I say we my husband was making cheese for other people kind of throughout the state, and he was a young cheesemaker that was given this opportunity to kind of head up the cheesemaking and the business of Clock Shadow here, and we were really excited about that journey. And then we ran that for a few years, and the more we talked about it, we were a young married couple, no kids, and we had really looked forward to kind of starting our own business and being our entrepreneurs and tying it back to the family farm that my husband grew up on. So it's a third generation dairy farm. His oldest brother is now the current farmer, but we thought it would be really cool to be able to make a product with the milk from the family farm. And in order to do that, we started Hill Valley Dairy. So in 2015, we branched out and made our own business, but Clock Shadow was incredible and super supportive, and they allowed us to rent their space from them to make our cheese. So when they were not in production, we were able to utilize the space to make our product, which is huge because we are the only cheese factory in southeastern Wisconsin. Everything else is kind of on the west side of the state and north of, Madison. The next closest one to here is Port Washington. And so they're few and far between. And for as much cheese as we make in the state, there are a handful of what we call nomadic cheesemakers that make their cheeses at other people's facilities because the financial commitment to a cheese factory is huge. So for us being, in our like mid 20s, it was like really one of those things that we didn't have financial availability to do anything else but rent space from another cheesemaker. And Clock Shadow was gracious enough to really, kind of take us under their wing and allow us to build our business in their facility. So we started out as farmers markets and did all of the, fresh cheese curds, as many as we could make in a week, and try to sell them all, and started building our brand and our product a little bit by doing wholesale and selling to restaurants in Warwick County, where we're from. And then kind of fast forward to 2020, we kind of found a sweet little cheese shop. Well, it wasn't a cheese shop. It was just a building in Lake Geneva where we were living at the time, and opened up our first brick and mortar shop and cheese bar. And then fast forward a couple years later to December of 2023, we were offered the lease here at 138 West Bruce and offered to take over the cheese factory. So we ended up, Clock Shadow moved their production to the west side of the state back to their parent company. And then we ended up taking over the lease and purchasing all the equipment. And now this is our home. So we, kind of thought long and hard about what we wanted to do with their old retail space, and decided that the response we were getting from our cheese bar and cheese shop in Lake Geneva was great. And we were really excited about sort of expanding that and embarking on what a cheese bar in the city of Milwaukee would look like. So here we are, a couple months later, we're making craft cocktails and slinging out cheese boards. So
That's amazing. That's really cool to hear the story evolve over the last, 10 years or so.
yeah, it'll be our 10th year. Technically, our 10th year of Hill Valley is this year. So
Oh, cool. So what is someone who, let's say, lived in Lake Geneva, or they really love to frequent your shop, and now it's in Milwaukee?
yeah.
Is it, hey, let's take a road trip up to Milwaukee, or are there ways that they can still find products somewhere? How does that?
Yeah. So our Lake Geneva, our Lake Geneva customer base is just the best. Like, I'm sure a lot of small businesses say that, but we have two small kids and that have been raised in this business. And I think anyone who has ever visited our shop or our cheese bar and has been like, given their receipt by my 5-year-old daughter at the time, like they were so kind of open and we were kind of a unique business, and they really wrapped their arms around us and showed us a ton of support and a ton of love. And unfortunately, we just like 2 weeks ago, sadly, just had to close our Lake Geneva space. But we're very sad that we're not a part of that. The business isn't there anymore. However, we still have all of our wholesale accounts. So there are a
Yeah.
ton of restaurants and shops in Walworth County that still sell our cheese,
Great.
which is great. And we do events and things stuff. So we'll be there for sure. But what's been really cool is honestly the first 6 months, we've been open here in Milwaukee. We've actually had like a very high percentage of our Lake Geneva clientele drive this way. Our customer base in Lake Geneva, was getting excited. They heard all about this project while we worked all through 2024 to remodel it and to open it. They were getting very excited about having a new experience. And one of the things we love the most about our business is we really do provide this bridge between kind of rural southeastern Wisconsin and Milwaukee. And I don't think there's a whole lot of things that necessarily, if a lot of people who are coming from southeastern Wisconsin are like coming for a Brewer game, or they maybe pop by, the Bucks game, but like they're here and then they go home. And for us, it was really important to kind of help spread the word about like how cool Milwaukee is, and like come on down and you guys can have the same super cozy experience here in the city and make it a day. We're like very encouraging to like go take a girls weekend, go have a date night, like, and they
No.
did. And so we've been seeing them, I would say at least once a week. We get somebody from our Lake Geneva customer base that comes in, and it just warms my heart. It really is awesome.
What can someone expect when they come to visit your shop?
Yeah. So, our product and our cheese factory is kind of like the heartbeat of where we are and what we do. But we wanted to kind of embark a little bit on the agritourism side of things and not only show you how the product is made, but also what you can do with it, and how what's important to us is kind of sharing with people like how you can repeat this experience at home with your friends, because we find that creates a really great bond between us and our customers, is kind of that trust that we're there for them if needed, but they can also repeat it at home, and they become repeat customers of ours because they love the experience that they have with us. So when you walk into our space, you actually walk into our cheese bar area. And our cheese bar kind of came about with the idea of diving in a little bit deeper with our customers and wanting to create a space that was social, very similar to a bar setting, and kind of diving a little bit deeper on the cheese and the drink side. And we really wanted to, I guess, kind of present like a different elevated version of being able to have a really good cocktail and an appetizer of sorts in your cheese board. There's a lot of great restaurants and great bars in the city of Milwaukee, and so we knew we had like a lot of competition and we needed to figure out a way to stand out amongst all of these people that already provide really great food and services. So we thought, well, we're going to stick to what we do best, and we do really great artisan cheese boards that are filled with a ton of local products. So everything from our local chocolates, we use indulgence, we use local meats, we have local crackers made from Empress Bakery in Bayview. We really wanted to dive into other local small batch artisans and showcase like what amazing products that they create that go along really well with our cheeses. And then our cocktail list is really fun and unique. It is 6 specialty cocktails that were created for the kind of highlight of the cheese. So when Nightcap and myself sat down, we really wanted to come up with a pairing that was highlighting both things, which was very, very different and challenging for both of us, which was cool. So they kind of came with their bar background, their beverage background, and we came with our cheese pairing background and talked about different qualities of the drinks we wanted to highlight and different qualities of the cheese we wanted to highlight. And then we really did a lot of trial and error. At like 8 a.m. on a Saturday, we were drinking cocktails and trying to figure out how to pair with cheese, and it worked out well. So we found not only that the similarities in craft cocktails and artisan cheese making the science behind both are really similar to each other. So it was just really neat to be able to pull from my expertise to create new pairings. And we felt like we really kind of hit the nail on the head with that was how we were going to offer a different experience for, the city of Milwaukee.
Sure.
So we're really excited about that.
That's cool. And so you have options as far as coming in to say, I want a glass of wine or a cocktail with this cheese.
Yeah.
What about, since the industry is exploding, not only the alcoholic versions, but as far as the NA industry has gotten a lot of exposure the last, we'll say, couple of years.
Yeah.
What is that? What are some things that you offer for those that still want to maybe get that bar atmosphere, but aren't going to be drinking?
Yeah, and that's a really good point because we thought that was a huge consideration for us. What we loved about the bar atmosphere was the socialization aspect of it. Like that's really what we wanted to recreate. So for us, we felt it was really necessary to have a handful of our craft cocktails. So three, half of our menu is available in zero proof spirits. So it tastes like a craft cocktail. It has the exact effect and feeling of drinking a craft cocktail, but you don't have the alcohol in it. So that was really important to us. Plus, we also carry a lot of other non-alcoholic drinks, like sodas and cold brew and whatnot, that people can enjoy if they don't want to touch that at all. But, for us, it was really about the social aspect and enjoying it. The NA spirits have come they've come so far since they first came out onto the scene a handful of years ago. And, you can make a really phenomenal cocktail with them. And when we're trying all of our cocktails and setting up our menus, we do side by sides. And there are a lot of instances where you can barely tell the difference. We just note that we know what they are based on how we're making them. But we love that we're able to kind of provide that as a culinary experience sort of for our guests. And then it also, it allows, for families to be able to come and enjoy our cheese bar as well, and date nights, and we get a lot of bachelorette parties, and like sometimes people don't know that you're expecting. And so it's a way to keep it low key and also just enjoy those options without leaving anyone out and kind of elevating the experience for everybody, no matter what your preferences are.
That's really cool. I think that's awesome to cover all spaces, and especially, I think it's really important for businesses to do that, because I think businesses that don't pivot and adjust to offer NA products are going to be falling behind, because there's so many people that are starting to cut back a little bit. And so I think it's really good to have that versus just like, well, I'm not going to go there, but now you have those options.
Yeah. And we really, in all honesty, like a lot of my former students are now college kids, and talking to them, they don't go out and drink the way that we did when we were in college. And so it was trying to figure out a way that they're really into the idea of experiences and sort of like events, like every time they go out. So for us, it was kind of creating that sort of idea, or recreating that idea of it can be a little bit of a culinary journey while you're sitting in our cheese bar to try, this cool craft cocktail along with this cheese, without it necessarily needing to be like an entire night out at a very loud bar. We get teased a lot that we're in our 40s now. So like that we created the bar that like we wanted to sit in, that's a little bit quieter with like some comfy couches and like mood lighting. And we're all, we close at 11. Like but we still get, we enjoy our really great drink, and we want to be able to, kind of dive deep onto both without making it like a full night out. So we're really excited to sort of find that sweet spot. We think that that's going to be attractive to like a whole new set of people in the city of Milwaukee. And it's a great add-on to what you're already doing. So like, if you are going out for the night, we're a great place to start. Like we're a really great way to get an appetizer before you go to dinner, come and have a wine flight with your girls and go hang out for the evening. We found that it's kind of hit like a neat a little pocket in the city of Milwaukee.
Yeah, I love that. That was over the holiday weekend. I was taking my dog out and by say end of the night, I mean around like 9:30.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
There's a couple people getting in the Uber, and I was like, oh man, I do not miss those days.
Yeah. It's a journey for sure. Like we're not quite there anymore, but we still enjoy what that was, for that time. So
yeah, that's great. What is the most rewarding part about owning a business? And what would you say is the most difficult or frustrating?
The most rewarding part about owning a small business is being able to be there for your community and really, I don't know, kind of not only engage your community members, but also just provide a safe and healthy work environment is partly what, my husband Ron and I really strive for is to, we both grew up very much like we are workaholics and we glorified the grind for a really long time. And we understand that hard work gets you into a lot of places. But, now that we have a family, we have two kids, that like there was a lot of reflection in like, what type of business did we want to run that was what we wish we would have had when we were younger. And we worked for really great people, don't get me wrong. Like we have very much enjoyed our work experiences, but it's also wanting to find that balance between having a really healthy and good work environment for people and making it business that gives back and is involved in the community in ways that we couldn't, do if it was just us. So that's and kind of being able to enjoy talking to our customers and opening up the door for them to find their new favorite cheese has been really rewarding and super fun. I think both of us came from an education background, and it's, working with kids is awesome and really rewarding in a lot of ways. But sometimes you don't always see like the fruits of your labor until much, much further down the road. Or like you hand someone a piece of cheese and they get very excited very quickly, and great, like what we did paid off. So it's been that has been really rewarding for both of us to sort of be able to just make somebody's day. Like that's a very cool feeling, is to work hard at the product that we make and the service that we provide, and then to really figure out that like this is this is something that is the highlight of their trip to Milwaukee, is the best thing that we can hear. So we enjoy that. And on the flip side, that is also the most challenging, is like constantly feeling like you have to sort of pivot to figure out what the consumer is looking for, and you know like find a balance between being who you are and like really staying true to who we are as a business and with our business mission and our product, and not, jumping on every single trend, but also like being relevant enough that you're what people want to spend their money on. And that's something that we don't take lightly. Like we spend a lot of time and energy and stress on, wanting to provide a really great product and a really great service.
When Josie and Ron are not thinking about cheese, what does an enjoyable day or weekend in Milwaukee look like?
Oh, it is filled with food and music. And it's funny because we moved around a lot prior to us coming home. We're both born and raised in southeastern Wisconsin, but prior to coming and moving back to the Milwaukee area, we've been in a lot of places, and we were always shocked that like more people hadn't come to visit Milwaukee. And I guess it for us, we would, and we've done this before, we would actually like walk from our old apartment prior to having kids, walk from our factory to our old apartment, and we would stop at like five or six different restaurants and bars on the way home just to get like one thing. So then we would have like the best night of just like a 5-course meal, but it was done at different locations.
Yeah.
We have really phenomenal food and drink in this city. And on top of it, like the music scene is wonderful. And that is something that every chance we get, I know we spend a lot of time in the city, but like if it's date night out or we want to bring friends in from out of town, like we're going to a concert and going to grab some food. That's pretty much what we love doing.
That's great. And especially it's perfect time of year now with the
Yeah.
summer festival season, and there's events, music going on every weekend. So that's always a good time to be. I had a good friend of mine was a bartender for many years, and him telling me a story about middle of winter, 10, 20 below. He's bartending, sometime in January, and there's a guy, it looks probably a couple comes in, and he's asking, what are you guys up to tonight? Oh, we're just visiting. First time here? Yeah. Why are you here in January? It's
Right,
20
right.
below. Come back in 6 months, experience the city. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good answer. Yeah, the food scene here is incredible. And again, kind of a testament to a few of my previous guests I've had on. talked about the foodie scene.
Yeah. And it's funny because like Ron and I did not grow up we've never been servers. We never worked in the restaurant industry until we got into cheese is when we kind of got that curtain taken away to see like the back end of what it takes to put together a restaurant and what it takes to, serve really great food. And so that has been really like not only just learning about the cheese industry, but learning about the restaurant industry through the cheese industry has been such a cool experience in the last 10 years and really a whole new level of respect for servers and for bartenders and for chefs. I mean, that you really start to not take for granted the experience that you have in a restaurant when you know how unbelievably hard these people are working and how genuine and authentic they are. Like, we're a small batch creamery that provides a very specific product, and the amount of chefs in the city of Milwaukee that kind of go out of their way to use our product because they know that we're putting in as much, kind of energy and love and effort into it as they do into their food is just really heartwarming. It's really neat to see that like they're just really good people at their core and they want to use good products in order to make their food taste better for the people that they're serving it to.
I've got one more question for you. And you can answer this in your business mind or just as far as like personal goes. But it's a two-parter. What does Milwaukee as a city do well? And what are some things they can improve on?
Yeah, that's a heavy question. I I think that the city of Milwaukee is this might sound strange to some people, but I think it's a very humble city. Like, I think we sit very much under the radar as far as cities go. And I think because of our proximity to other very large cities, being close, a day trip away from Minneapolis and Chicago and Indianapolis, it sort of allows us to sort of sit back a little bit. And what's really cool about the city of Milwaukee is genuinely, it almost feels like the small town we grew up in, which might seem very strange to some people, but the people who are here really do care about their community. And I know that, like any great population, it has its flaws and its issues, but overall, being a small business and the work that it takes to be a small business in the city of Milwaukee, we have very rarely ever felt like someone didn't have our back, whether that's another small business or your customer base. And honestly, even a lot of like our city aldermen, like people who genuinely are rooting for you because they understand that you want to make this a better place to live. And I think that that's been such a neat, like, I feel like in the last, 10 years that we've been involved in the city of Milwaukee, we've watched sort of this pride grow a little bit bigger than just when the Brewers and the Bucks are doing well. Like, people just want to be a part of the city now. Like, they want to live here and work here and be proud of what we offer. And I think that we are slowly becoming a little bit better at like patting ourselves on the back for being a great city and like standing up a little bit and saying like, we are pretty awesome. Like, it is worth a vacation trip here. But I think that that's something that we kind of do well is we sort of keep it humble so that we can stay like moving forward and progressing slowly, but surely. And then I think one thing I wish we would almost get better at or we could improve on is just being, as a city, confident enough to say like, we're awesome, come visit, bring more people here because, and I think we're getting there slowly but surely, but for us to be able to stand up and say like, yeah, we'll host your huge event, or yes, please come stay here and enjoy the small businesses, because the support that we're getting as a small business is great to an extent, but if you don't have people coming through the door, tourism or moving here, then you don't have that sustainability because there's not the community here to keep pushing that. So kind of encouraging and getting the word out there a little bit that, we are an awesome city and we are worthy of people coming here and hanging out. And whether it's for a short term or long term or moving here, we've had a lot of people in the bar in the last couple months that are like, they're like, oh, well, we're trying to move to the Midwest, but they're all talking about moving to Chicago. But once they visit the city of Milwaukee, they're like, this is actually a really cool place. Like, really, not to knock Chicago. I don't want to do that. But I just think like,
I'm okay with it.
yeah, like we need to be okay with like improve a little bit on being all right with being confident in who we are.
When you come into Milwaukee, it takes, wherever you're coming from, it takes X amount of minutes to get through into the city. But like, there's the joke of like when you're, when you're, half hour out of Chicago, you've still got like 2 hours to go. It's just,
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I love I say this a lot, but I love the walkability. I love getting around Milwaukee. You've got those different pockets, whether it's Walker's Point, Fifth Ward, Third Ward, East Side, Brady Street area, downtown Deer District, the lake.
Yeah.
Oh, just right there. And so it makes it Bayview. It makes it so easy to get around. And again, you can kind of do that, what you mentioned, the hopping around, whether it's in an Uber or by foot or by bike, and just to be able to, visit all those places. And to the point of being in Milwaukee, I've got, my cousin comes up here sometimes and he's like, "Oh, that was awesome. I only spent $50 at the bar last night." Because, down in Chicago, that bill is 95 or 100.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of experiences like, Chicago is an easy comparison because it's so close to us, but like, it's one of those things that like Chicago is such a phenomenal city and everyone in the US knows that, right? So then it's kind of like just raising our hand a little bit to be like, we're here too. Like this is also a cool city. And I think the neat thing about the city of Milwaukee is like each community has its kind of own thing to offer. So you can kind of find a little niche anywhere you need to fit in. And, at the same point, we all sort of like to melt together to be able to make the city what it is. So
awesome. Well, Josie, before we let you go here, quick plug for your business. Is there a good spot you can talk about, the hours or the days you guys are open, Instagram or Facebook, any of that?
Yeah, Instagram is definitely the most upkept. So I would check there first. It's at Hill Valley Dairy is our handle.
Great.
We do have a website that you can order our cheese on. It's hillvalleydairy.com. Also has the contact information for the bar and shop and factory. We're open. The cheese bar is open Wednesday through Sunday. So we have a lot of open availability. We'd love for you guys to come in and experience all that we have to offer. Check out some cheese making in the windows on the other days of the week. So we're open 7 days a week, but the bar itself is only open Wednesday through Sunday. So that's when most customers are coming in.
Well, Josie, I want to thank you so much for taking some time today. I do really appreciate it. And
yeah, thanks for the invite.
Awesome.
This is fun.
Thank you. And there you have it. Hope you learned a little bit more about another Milwaukee establishment, specifically a creative one and unique experience with Hill Valley Dairy. I want to thank Josie for taking time to speak with us. I did mention to her, which didn't make the final cut in editing, but I wanted to mention that, it's I think a testament to her business and her husband Ron's and their family for the success that they've had over the last decade. And really with the recent closure of their Lake Geneva location and now in Milwaukee, that you still have the regulars, their customers, making the drive up to the Milwaukee area. I think that just shows how well they treat their guests or their customers, and people are always going to want to support you if if you have a good product, and 2, you offer a good experience, but 3, you treat them well. As always, appreciate you listening. Feel free to tell your friends, family, post on your socials. You can follow my account on Instagram, 414_Milwaukee, as well as It's Later Than You Think podcast. Have a great rest of your day and take it easy.